Welcome to Stepping on the Mat podcast, episode 015 with me, Aaron Martinez. Today's guest is a graduate of Linn-Mar High School, where he was a four-time Iowa High School 3A state finalist and a two-time state champion. Most recently, he was rated by Mat Scouts as the number 27 national recruit in the class of 2023. Flow Wrestling's ranked him number 4 at 182 pounds. This year, he double-dipped as a junior national Fargo tournament, winning both titles in freestyle and Greco-Roman. He is now heading into his first collegiate season at Iowa State University. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, Tate Naaktgeboren. Welcome to the show, Tate.
Thank you for having me. It's cool. I've never been in a podcast room before, so it's interesting.
Yeah, you were just saying that, but man, we're already vibing. Things are going well, and you know, like as we get going through the interview here, these cameras and the mic won't even be existing. It'll just be me and you conversating. So I'm glad you were able to make the trip down here, and I appreciate you doing that just outside of class. I'm sure you got a lot of stuff going on, and especially with prepping this season. So tell me what's been going on this summer and just kind of where you're at now.
This summer was right after trials. So I started off summer right after I went from graduation on Sunday, grad party on Monday, and then that Wednesday we packed up and we went to Ohio for World Team Trials, and then spent the weekend there or whatever, came back, and I went straight to Boji. Or that night, we came back on Sunday morning. I repacked my things. I went to Highland Riverside, ran a camp, so South Iowa City, and then that same night, I drove 4.5 hours to Boji, and then I had training the next day in Boji with Iowa State. We have a little training camp up in Boji every year. It's 2 weeks long, but I missed the first week because of trials, obviously. But went to trials, went to Boji, and then right after Boji, I went back home, repacked, and then went to junior duels down in Tulsa with Iowa, wrestled Greco freestyle down there, came back from there, repacked, moved my stuff into a house in Ames for the summer with my buddies, trained in Ames, would hop from Ames to Big Game for Greco and freestyle work, and then obviously went Fargo camp, and then I came home from Fargo, I think it was Saturday night or something like that. Mm-hmm. Sunday, me and my family spent all day packing, and then Monday moved right into my apartment in Ames and then just restarted. Took a little bit of time off, but then just pretty much restarted.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, hey man, it's going to slow down, but it's not going to slow down. And it's good to see that, you know, you're how old are you right now? 18 years old, you know, and you're already handling grown man's schedules, you know. And, you know, the things that you listed off weren't things like, hey, I'm going to go to the grocery store. I got to go to Aunt Sally's this week. You know, you're doing, you know, duels. You're doing the national duels. You're doing, you know, the national tournament. You're doing, you know, you're going to train here. You're going to go run this camp. Like, that's a lot of tasks to handle. What do you think would be your highlight for the summer?
Accomplishment-wise, I'd probably say my Greco title for like wrestling accomplishment wise, because my Greco, like I wasn't a Greco wrestler, and then Dylan Carew brought me in and we trained Greco, and I mean I really only trained Greco for a year and a half before Fargo, 2 years, and just like the strides I made in Greco, like freestyle obviously is cool too, that's a big tournament everyone's talking about, but my Greco experience the past 2 years definitely was like a highlight, because I watched it improved a crazy amount, and it's a different style that most people aren't used to, so it was pretty easy to get good at, like with the help of Dylan and his background, and we got Brandon Marshall who's also a senior level guy. I mean, he got 4th at World Team Trials this year on the senior level, and I was training with him, Volker, so I mean I had the partners, I had the coaches, so it was nice.
Yeah. And we were kind of talking about that a little before we got the show started, like the difference of like going from one thing to the next. We were talking about wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but even just doing the freestyle and then into Greco. What would you say you said that kind of wasn't your thing before, but and now it is, right? It's something that you really desired to win and accomplish. So what was it there that those coaches, and yourself was doing to kind of make that shift to a different rule set and different style?
I mean, to me, it just ultimately came down to wrestling. It's just wrestling. Yeah, I can't attack the legs, but the same positions of underhooks or, many of those positions in Greco or freestyle or folk style even. Like, Greco translates to my freestyle wrestling, my folk style wrestling, just without shots. So, I mean, it's helped build my folk style and freestyle just as much as freestyle's built folk style and folk style's built freestyle.
Right.
So they all go hand in hand.
And winning the Fargo tournament is like a huge deal, right? We know that. We accept that. But you won 2 of them. You won 2 in 1 year, in the same year. Like, that's huge, man.
Yeah.
How do you shake that off and just keep moving?
I mean, it's an expectation for me. Like, most people are like shocked if they win Fargo. Like, I was like, nah. Like, we said this year, we're like, if you don't go and win those 2 stop signs, like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
You haven't had a stop sign yet. That's been our goal of our whole high school career, and that's another reason I wrestled my senior year is I'm in the sport to wrestle. Like, why would I take the summer off and, like, end quote, like, transition into college wrestling, where instead train with college and then go wrestle Fargo Nationals, which is every kid's dream growing up and even in high school. Like, why not do that? And then just nail it down. So,
and which one do you think is easier and harder of the 3?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. Like I said earlier, wrestling's wrestling for me. So, I mean, Greco, there's hard things about all of them. Greco's very mental, and you just got to go out there and you pretty much just got to, like, bat your ribs, and you just got to be like, I'm the man. And then it's a street fight. Greco's a street fight is all it is.
Yeah.
It's a legal street fight. Freestyle, obviously, you can't scramble as much as folk style. So, I mean, that's the difficulty about that. And then folk styles, you got to control. You don't just get the exposure points. So, I mean, there's tough things about all of them. I wouldn't say one's more difficult than another. They all have their hard stuff, and they all have their, like, I don't even know how to say it, like, stuff that's beneficial, like, easier.
Mm-hmm. And the World Team Trials, like, where was that at this year?
Geneva, Ohio.
And tell me a little bit about that one.
We went out there. It wasn't my greatest tournament. We went out, and my parents and I and Dylan went out in our RV, camped in the parking lot, and
a little boondocking.
Greco was first, and we had a couple guys in our bracket, and then they ended up backing out last second, so it ended up just being me and Volker. And, I mean, we knew that was going to be the finals. Like, we both knew it, and we're like, we trained with each other all summer and spring for it, and we knew we were going to wrestle each other, and it was just, he ended out on top. I helped him throughout the whole summer get ready for Worlds. He helped me for Fargo. And then freestyle, I had slip moments. My mind wasn't the greatest that tournament out. It was just a slip tournament for me. And even Dylan said on the way home, he was like, you still got 5th in freestyle in a college level, like, U20 tournament, and that was probably your worst tournament I've ever coached you at. Right.
So even on your worst day, you're doing great things.
Yeah.
Now, like you were mentioning, like you had a training partner, then you had to compete against them, and you've had some, I wouldn't say rivals, but you've had these guys that you've had to go against a couple of times that you've gotten to work with as well. Like how does that transcend? Because a lot of people, they take wrestling as like this war, it's a fight, but like off the mat, people don't know that you guys are having conversations and like, kicking it too.
Yeah, you can't enjoy each other, like talk to each other, like everyone just thinks it's beef. But yeah, like I'm different on and off the mat. Like I'm chill off the mat. Like I'll talk to anyone. Like me and my buddies went to the Iowa State soccer game down in Iowa City one weekend, and we ended up seeing a bunch of the Iowa wrestlers and stuff, and we were chatting it up. Like, you wouldn't even know that we were all competitors. Like, we were just in the back of the bleachers having conversation. These fans are walking past us, and we're on our Cyclone
It's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, they're like, "What the heck?" Like this is the biggest rivalry in the Cyhawk is wrestling. Like these guys are supposed to hate each other, but no, we're just talking. Same thing with Wyatt's different. Wyatt's my training partner. We've been training with each other since 6th grade, but even Gabe Arnold, I mean, I'm close with his family. Like, I'll talk to his whole family. I talk to him. Like, we train together after the state tournament. Like it's not like wrestling's just like there in your life, you know, like it's short, but like what you are after and what you are outside of wrestling is way more important than if you win 2 Fargo stop signs or you wrestle D1 or, you know, like that stuff's all neat and cool, but you gotta treat people right, because in the end, everything, like, wrestling's gonna be over, and then you're gonna have way more years after wrestling, and you don't have enough energy to devote energy into like hating someone, you know?
Yeah. And I know we're probably jumping way up on the question mark here, but like, what do you want to do when you're done with wrestling, as far as like competing?
I want to give back. I want to give back to wrestling. I want to help out at Big Game. I want help out at Linmar. I want to give back to the clubs, and I mean, there's a lot of clubs that I went to as a kid, but I want to give back to everyone that helped me like a little bit, just because I know that I'm not going to like fulfill like what Big Game or what Linmar has done for me. But if I can give back a little bit of what they've given me, and then like help out kids, like chase their dreams, like even outside of wrestling, just like inspire young kids, or even people my age, like my brother or friends, like just inspire them. And
yeah. You've already been coaching or doing some like camps and stuff like that. Do you feel like that's inside of you? That's something that's like is like natural for you to coach and teach others?
Yeah. I've been coaching, like I'll help out, like even when I was little, like I'd help out in our wrestling room, like even the older guys, like just when I'm wrestling with them, I'll just give them pointers, because I mean, it's fun seeing people grow, and like it's all a competition, but why would you want to compete against like even like competitors, like helping them out? Like why would you want to compete against someone if they aren't at their full like potential? Like that's not right. That's not.
Yeah, nobody wants to go against the tomato can.
You want to go against yeah, exactly. You want to go up against top dogs. Like you want to go up against the best of the best, and that's how you prove yourself. So
yeah. It's interesting that, you know, your perspective on that, and some people spend their whole lives wanting to run away from that, you know, not embrace the competition, but like, hey, I'd rather just get an easy match today if I can get an easy match.
Yeah.
You know, that's great that you're doing that. And you said helping kids out. Now, which age range do you think that you connect to the most?
Like basic it depends, because like little kids, I help them like basic fundamentals. It's pretty easy, like not easy because they all get sidetracked. But,
sure.
But it's fun watching them develop fundamentals, and like they'll grow way faster. But then helping out like higher middle school and then high school, like this past summer, I can do more like complex moves and positions to where, and it's fun seeing them understand those positions, and then you have them wrestle live or something or play wrestle, and they get in those positions, and they know they do exactly what you taught them 30 minutes ago, and it was like it works for them now. It just clicked.
Yeah. So as far as we talk about fundamentals, what would you say for, you know, K through 8th grade? What would you say kids need to focus on for fundamentals in that area?
I'd say having a go-to shot. I'm saying, like, you got to have like in Iowa State room, we preach it every day. You got to have a go-to shot to one leg and the other leg. So, like, whether it be a single to the right side and a high crotch to the left, or an ankle pick, you just got to be able to attack just one shot each way to be able to attack both sides of the body. And if you just drill those things consistently and you get them really good, like everyone knows like Jordan Burroughs double's coming, but he still gets it.
Still gets it.
Because he trains it. He's consistent with it. Like if you go out and you train 100 moves, it's good, but how often are you going to hit 100 moves in a wrestling match?
Right. Yeah. That's what I see the difference, like teaching jiu-jitsu, is between like hobbyists and people that are really in it. The people that are really in it don't have no issues drilling fundamentals until they're exhausted. Mm-hmm. The hobbyists, they want to know everything right now, and they don't want to get good in any of it. Yeah. You know, they just want to like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Show me the next cool. And they want the cool stuff. They don't want like the basic things that's going to get the job done. So, let's go. Let's, you know, you had an awesome summer, you know, we can see over here in the background, you know, we had a great summer. But let's go a little bit deeper. I want to hear your origin story. Take it back from when you were a kid and kind of how you got into wrestling, you know, maybe how your parents got involved with it, and walk us through it.
So I got into wrestling with my dad. My dad wanted to wrestle when he was a kid, but never, my grandma was like, no, like,
right.
Like, you're going to get hurt. Like, it's dangerous, all this stuff. So he ended up playing basketball and football. He went to college, Simpson, for football, but he hung out with the wrestlers all the time. So he ended up getting me into wrestling when I was kindergarten, going into kindergarten-ish. And that was at Linmar, like the Little Lions Club or whatever, just a club team or school club. And then that built to a club called TMX. It's not a thing anymore, but Tim McEwen, he's a ref in Iowa now. So I trained there for a while through like 5th grade. And while training at Linmar, I trained at Linmar my whole, like from the start to finish. That's why. But the clubs, I had TMX till 5th grade, and then 6th and 7th grade, and 8th grade, I had Elite Takedown Club. I don't know if you would know that.
Yep.
It was up in Waverly. It's now Immortal Athletics. So I trained there, and then trained at Immortal for a little bit in 8th grade when they switched, and then went to Eastern Iowa for the rest of 8th grade. And COVID hit. Mm-hmm. So Eastern Iowa shut down because they were running it out of Co College, and Co wouldn't let them use their facility, so they didn't have a facility. So
yeah, there are a lot of people were in that struggle bus.
Yeah, it was a big change. But I ended up finding Dylan through Hunter Garvin and Wyatt Volker. I ended up finding Dylan in Big Game. I went down there for a practice because Wyatt was like, you got to come. And I've pretty much talked to Dylan, and ever since then I stuck there. So COVID was a blessing to me. Yeah. But that summer, so it was a spring, so like April-ish, I went to Big Game, and then this end of May through the end of June, early July, I actually lived down in North Liberty at Big Game, and we had trained at they call it man camp, where you help out with the business, and then you learn work, and then you learn practice. And then we did that, and Fargo got canceled that year, so yeah, we pretty much just trained hard, and then trained there I lived there over a month, and then just continued, and I've stayed there ever since. So
now, how many young people were there during man camp?
That man camp was different than these normal or the ones now,
right? Because COVID was going on.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we had like 7 of us from Iowa that were all high schoolers. It was like me, Volker, Garvin, Grant Odell, the Scrantons, and maybe one more. But then we brought in a guy from California, Georgia, Alabama, like 3 other states, and they came and trained with us, and we all just bonded and trained, and at weekends we'd be able to go to the beach or something, and it was fun. But that man camp really like took off my wrestling, because I mean, we were just in the room 2 times a day, 3 times a day if we weren't working, and just my growth just like shot up.
Yeah. Now, what would you say was the production of that growth? Was it your growth and your technical stuff? You just got tougher? You got in better shape?
Kind of all of it. Shape. I was just. Oh, that wasn't the thing. It was more technical and like understanding my body awareness.
Okay.
And my mindset, like it was part big game, part I think of me just developing as a person to where I like walk the line of like confidence, and I'm not going over it, but just walking confident and like knowing you're the guy, and like you don't care who you go out against. Like, because when I was little, I used to be like scared, or like I'd wrestle different against the best guys, and like I had a couple slip moments where I've done that recently, but like Fargo, I wrestled everyone. I didn't care who stepped out on the mat.
Yeah,
I didn't even look at who was in the quarter or something like that. I just looked at my next match because I honestly didn't care. It was like, all right, cool, you're stepping on that line. All right, like that's your loss.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You just got to have that mentality. And I think once a lot of, like, not just me, but once a lot of people develop that mentality, like I was at Big Game Sunday, and Dylan said it there too, but once you develop that mentality of you're the man and you step foot on that line and you're trying to challenge me, like that's your problem, like that's your fault. Like once you develop that, your wrestling, it's like your wrestling is going to skyrocket because your confidence is there before you even step out on the mat.
Yeah.
And you carry that confidence throughout the match, after the match, and then just walking on the even just on the street, like even the confidence, like in the schoolroom, like that confidence carries over the schoolroom, your life, like not even just wrestling. So that my confidence was a big part of what built me, like what increased my wrestling throughout high school, because it also improved school, my relationships, like become more talkative, like
yeah, for sure, 100%. And you've mentioned already a couple people as we've been sitting here, but who would you say like some of maybe your top 3 mentors are over time?
I'd say starting off, like Doug Stryker and Bo Westfall at Linmar, where they created like a foundation for me. Like Doug lives like 4 houses down from me, so I've been with him my whole life, and he's been in the club my whole life, and he's helped develop me, like my foundation, and he's been with me my whole career. And then Bo, since 6th grade, he started coaching at the Linmar club, and I'd go in and I'd just wrestle with him and scramble with him and work positions with him, and he was my practice partner for the last 3 years. So we developed a good relationship, and he's helped me a lot. And then 3, that's hard, because all my coaches have played important roles. Like
sure,
Dylan's played a role that I can't even thank him enough. Like not even just wrestling wise, just the opportunities that he gave me. And like I said it in my Fargo interviews too, and like you can never give Big Game enough praise, because the opportunities outside of wrestling that they give me and like all the little kids, like you can go on hunts, like guided hunts, you can like turkey hunt, deer hunt, you can go on trips, you can go, it's a family down at that club, and it's something special.
Yeah, when you establish family values inside of the sport, it makes it so much easier to like be in that state where you are flowing. It is carefree, it's like all those feelings of anxiety kind of leave away, because those people are with you, right? And they're the guys that are help building up your confidence as well. So I appreciate that. So high school, 2 state titles, 4 times in the finals, correct? Walk me through that, like first year, you're like, you end up making the state finals as a freshman. I know that's, not something unusual. People do it, every year, but like, we're talking about your story here. So maybe shed some light on moving up from 8th grade and going into your freshman year and walking yourself into the finals.
Yeah. So 8th grade, I was at state finals, and I came back, and, Doug Stryker looks at me after finals and goes, "You see anyone out there that you could take out?" And I go, "I'd take them all out." I go, "I'll be in the state finals, blah, blah, blah." And he kind of laughed, and he's like, good. And freshman year, I came in, and we had a pretty good like schedule for high school. So we had the independence tournament, and no one really knew who I was. Like our first home duel, like they called out, like we got a cool walkout at Limar. We got like smoke show, like curtains.
That's
it
awesome.
was cool. But the student section like didn't know who I was. I was just freshman coming in. And they're like, they weren't really sure of like my wrestling abilities, and I went out and I just killed this kid.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, this guy's good. Like, and they ended up like it increased from there, and they all got hype after. But the first weekend was the Cliff Keen Independence Tournament, and like then it was like tough.
Yeah, that's
like,
a tough tournament.
Like that school from down in Missouri, Christian Brothers College, comes like some of the Des Moines schools, like top 2A schools. So I ended up like wrestling the Osage kid who was ranked like second in 2A, and I ended up beating him. And that's like after that was like the write-ups came up. I wrestle like the Gazette, like they're like freshmen, whatever.
Yeah.
And state finals wasn't really like it. It was cool. It was cool to me, and like it was like that. I mean, I've sat there and watched it for years. Like it was cool, but it was the expectation for me, and I mean, my expectation was to win the dang thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, ended up not coming out my way at the last. I remember the last 26 seconds, and it didn't end up coming out my way. But that like formed me for next year, and next year I got it done. And junior year, I don't even know, what was it, like I think it was like 18-3.
Yeah, it was
second period.
It wasn't a really close match.
And then the fourth year, excuse me, was Gabe. That final match was probably my, like, I'd say my first win was fun, but the most fun final match I was in was my senior year, even though the outcome wasn't great. But that loss, I think that loss helped me a lot, like, after the match. Like, training I'm like,
yeah.
I ain't the best in the state. Like, I ain't the best in the state. What am I can't just get my head back down and start working. And it just drove me even more. Like, I had drive, obviously, to win. My plan was to go to the U.S. Open, win the U.S. Open, go to Pan Ams. But not every path's linear, you
Right.
know?
Yep.
So
I was
it's
getting ready to say that.
roller coaster. But the downs help me a lot, I think, because it just gives you that extra spark. But
yeah, that's super important to be a continued athlete. Is you can't let that linger on you, and that's a tough loss. But like, it was so entertaining at the same time. So I appreciate that between you and Gabe. That was awesome. What do you think went? You know, it was overtime, obviously. And what do you feel like looking back at that? Like, what would you have done different?
I would have probably got to more attacks. I was very like cautious in the first couple periods when I was on my neutral attacks.
Yeah.
So
why do you think that is?
Once we start, I don't really know. I think it was more. I don't know if it was a stage or if I know his reattacks are good but because I knew we were gonna wrestle 4 times or 3-4 times is what I was picturing because I was counting. I was like Duel, Donnybrook, state, and conference.
Yeah.
So our first, like, I had like different game plans. Just I never wrestled them before. So like my first game plan at Donnybrook was just wing it, like just go out there and let it fly.
Yeah.
And his reattacks were good. So next match we like slowed it down a little bit, but ended up not. I don't really know why I was timid or if I just didn't feel like I could get shots off or what. But after I started hitting my reattacks on his shots on the edge of the mat, it was feeling good, but we were both pretty hard to finish on.
Yeah, for sure. So leaving your high school season behind, you know, you got right into the freestyle and Greco. Some kids don't do it. And what would you tell them, high schoolers, you know, young freshmen, sophomores that are not doing freestyle as much? What would you say to them to encourage them to push forward in that?
I'd say go give it a try. I mean, it's one of those things that's like people don't want to try it because they might not think they're good at it or it's a new thing. I'm not going to be able to pick up on it. But I mean, it comes back to wrestling's wrestling. Like you're gonna pick up on it, and I mean, it's a huge part, especially in recruitment, because I mean, every college coach in America is watching Fargo. Every college coach is watching Fargo or trials or all those big tournaments, and the off-season wrestling is just as important, if not more important, than the high school season, because that's when all the national tournaments are. Like if you can put up numbers in the state, like cool. Can you put them up against the nationally? Can you put them up against those top guys? And I think freestyle and Greco plays a huge role in if kids want to go to wrestling past high school.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, you mentioned being the champ. There's one of the benefits of that, besides the stop signs and the accolade of having that and the accomplishment, is that there's a lot of college recruits at this tournament. So obviously, you finishing off your high school season, and the next step is what's Tate going to do for college. So I imagine that was quite a process, and you had quite a bit of people knocking at your door.
Yeah.
Maybe walk me through that.
I didn't really get my big knock was folk style nationals. My sophomore year, I knocked off like 4 nationally ranked guys, but I wouldn't say that my double champ status got me knocked because I was already signed and I was already living in Ames. So like my progress was different because I was already there. It was mine was more of a put the nail on the coffin.
Right.
My high school career, like don't leave the door open. Like shut the door and walk off.
So the doors that were opening, what other ones besides Iowa State was trying to recruit you?
I took visits to Iowa, UNI, and Virginia as well, and I liked them. I liked them all. And then I had a visit lined up for Stanford as well. So I didn't end up taking that one because I committed on my Iowa State visit. But, I mean, from June 15th, I'm pretty sure, for get calls. Like, I was on vacation up in Minnesota at a lake house or a cabin, and I ended up having to go, like, there's no service where I was at.
Sure.
And I ended up going to the lodge all day, and I was just on the phone. So I took a break from boating and jet skiing or whatnot. So, I mean, I think I got like 20-something calls that first day, and a couple lined up home visits, and I ended up taking a lot of them. So,
right.
Because I didn't want to lead college coaches on if I knew I wasn't going to go too far. Because I love in-home. I wanted to visit a couple out of state to see what it's like. But after I took that Virginia visit, I loved the visit. Like, it was sick. Like, there was a mount, like 5 minutes from campus, there was giant mountains, and it was a cool atmosphere. But like, you can't get better wrestling than Iowa, the state of Iowa. So it wasn't that hard of a like decision for me to stay in state. That's why I took visits to all 3.
So what was the final nail in the coffin that you decided to choose Iowa State?
I have so many reasons for them. I mean, the coaches are phenomenal. They're straight up with you. Like some coaches put on that fake face for visits. Like, they make it all look pretty or whatnot.
Right.
Like Dresser, Metcalf, and St. John, they're straight to the point. And I ended up seeing it once I committed, I ended up going up there on weekends. And, I mean, they acted the same way they did on my visit. So, I mean, they're genuine people, and the team bond, like the team together, we're so close. We hang out all the time with each other. I mean, some teams don't do that. Some teams have their little friend groups and see the rest of them at practice. But everyone's together most of the time. Like, we'll all hang out with each other, go do stuff. So it's a good atmosphere to be around. And I think that good atmosphere, like, outside of wrestling also builds on wrestling. So, like, when we're in the room, everyone's close with each other. Everyone's helping each other out. We're training hard together side by side.
Heck yeah, man. Speaking of, like, friends, as I'm getting to know you here, I want to share a gift with you before we keep going on the show here. Also because I forgot to do it at the beginning. So there it is. So it's a little gift between from myself, I Wrestle, and Eka Nutrition. So you got some supplements in there, you got some shirts, and be good to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's enjoying the episode. It's been a pleasure thus far through all 15 episodes to be able to bring this content to you guys. So with that being said, please like and share, continue to share the content, continue to get the word out. We're all trying to do our small part in the world to uplift wrestling and uplift humanity. And with that being said, I'd like to thank a couple people. I Wrestle, thanks for your support, as well as Eka Nutrition, that is our friends for this episode here. And just to give you a little bit of awareness about Eka Nutrition specializes in custom nutrition plans to help with weight gain, weight loss, and overall athletic performance. If you're an athlete in wrestling, Jiu Jitsu, or mixed martial arts, I suggest you go check them out. Look, they do individual composition scans. That information goes into a database, and then it begins to form a specific plan based on the individual's goals. And those results come in with like brain function, muscle gain, fat loss, stamina, and overall general good health. If you'd like more information and you got questions, please contact your coach over at ekendemoines@gmail.com. Now back to the show.
I got one Ekin shirt. I got it from Keeter. It was the Look Good Naked shirt.
Yeah.
I rocked that thing quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think maybe that might be the one in there. If it's the same one, then I'll give you a different one.
They sponsor Big Game now too, or they're affiliated with Big Game too.
Yeah. So let's talk about that then for a second. I mean, Ekin, they're doing big things in the wrestling community as far as nutrition, and it's something that we've spoke on this podcast a lot about is like wrestling and nutrition. They just kind of go hand in hand, and they're getting better over time. So what is your like current like nutrition, your diet, your nutrition plan?
Yeah, I'm eating. We have a nutritionist at Iowa State that helps us out a lot. So she like has our recommended set values, and I have like sheets that I can look off of. So I keep it pretty simple for myself. I eat the same thing for breakfast every day. I have like little lunch. So instead of like my 3 big meals or 2 big meals or whatever, we have it spaced out to where I'm eating like 6 small meals, but they help a lot. I never got the opportunity to work with Ekin. They came to Big Game like my last year, obviously, and they just joined. But nutrition's a big part, like gas tank wise, and how you feel, even like getting down to weight without sucking yourself down with water weight, instead of eating good foods and drop your weight over time, which is a big thing. Like we have a weight chart at Iowa State we got to make, or he has a set weight chart for each thing. So
yeah, what are you walking around right now at?
I'm weighing like 197 right now.
197.
So our weight chart this week's 197.
Yeah.
So it's like a pound or like a little over a pound a week. It's not anything crazy. So
excellent. What would you say what would be your bad food that you really like but you try to stay away from?
I say ice cream.
Ice cream? Any certain flavor?
Depends on the day.
They need to give you your own ice cream, man.
Yeah, some like Kyvan dough.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Iowa State Creamery need to get on that.
Yeah, dude. We need to reach out to them. If they're watching the podcast, y'all need to make that happen. Let's get it done. So yeah, like any I think when your accolades start showing up, more people start showing up for you. I mean, obviously I reached out to you for this podcast, right? But how that goes for like college athletes, like are you finding like companies of interest and brands of interest that you like are into?
You mean like reaching out to them?
Oh, just like stuff you're into, like gear and Do you have any certain companies that you like wearing their? I mean, you got a Nike shirt on right now.
Obviously, we're sponsored by Nike. I like their gear anyway. Before I was even at Iowa State too.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Nike guy.
Yeah, for sure. Shoes.
I got the Jordans on right now.
Which ones are you rocking right now?
I got the Retro 2.
Pull one up here.
All right. I got the Retro 2s on right now.
Boom. The low tops. I did a custom on the high top 2s. The 2s are pretty good. You know, like I think that the 2s have kind of grown over time. I think when they first released, they weren't as popular as how the 1s were.
Yeah.
And then the 3s came out, and Jordan won the dunk contest in those. But those low ones are great. They're super comfortable.
I've never seen anyone with this color other than me and Dylan. Me and Dylan got both the same. So.
Nice. I appreciate you pulling that sneaker up. I'm always looking at how people's fit is. You know, I'm a shoe guy myself.
Look good, feel good, play good.
That's right. And if it smells good, it's probably good too. So, let's talk about some goals. So you're doing kinesiology at Iowa State. Let's talk about some like goals over the next couple of years at college.
Yeah. So after I get my degree, I mean, I'll go into wrestling obviously or whatnot, but looking for like chiropractor, physical therapist, or like strength training or any of that sort. I want to get into a field like that where I can like help people and like give back to them and help them like progress, like just same way as coaching does, like just the growth. But I would say that would be my academic goal right now.
Okay. And as far as your non-academic sports goal?
Yeah, there's stepping stones, but I mean, I would say we're gonna get that Big 12 title, NCAA championship. Like it's all the same as it's the same as everyone else. I mean, you want the conference title, NCAA title, world teams, but my paths are gonna look different than everyone's, and that's like the big part. Like people can say I want to be a national champ, or I want to be a Big 12 champ, or I want to be a Big 10 champ. Like you can say you want to be a champ, but do you like live it? Do you train like it? Like you gotta train like it, and you gotta put in the effort behind the end outcome, because there's way more in between from where you are to where national champ. Like there's a whole middle piece that you're missing in the goal. Like you got your goal, and then you got to have like the steps to it, you know?
Yeah, you can't just speak and manifest. You got to actually do the work at wrestling, for sure. 100%.
Like I was watching, I saw a video today, and it was like, would you play Super Mario if you just had to hop over one lava pit and like Peach was saved? Like,
I did it.
That wouldn't be fun. Yeah, that wouldn't be fun. Like there's no like risk. There's no, and that's what that video I watched it like 4 times in a row.
That's great.
And it was like, he was like, well, that wouldn't be fun. Like, why would you want to do that? Like challenges keep our life interesting. And the ultimate point of that video was, he was like, well, what if you could just take your 5 most challenging things out of your life and throw them away? And like, if you did that, you'd think all your problems are solved, but then there'd be like, you don't have interest. Like your life, your work, and you got your purpose. You got a purpose in your life. You got your why and everything. Like you don't have to have one why. You have a why for aspects of your life. You got a why for family. You got a why for God. You got a why for wrestling. You got a why for education. You got a why for why you do each one of your things. And if you don't have a why, you probably should figure that. Like you got to figure it out. And I mean, if you can't do it on your own, you sit down and talk with your friend or something, or your coach, like, and figure out your why. Because the why helps you drive to the goal or end goal or whatever you're looking for.
Man, that's powerful, man. What would you say you heard this from?
I saw it on an Instagram reel or something like that. This guy was talking at a graduation. I might have it saved. I don't even know.
Once you find it, when this is on the playback, throw it in the comment box. I'd like to listen to that. I think it'd be gain some. I mean, you nailed it on. You nailed that one. But I think there's a lot of value in what you just said. A lot, especially when it comes to anything like life problems. You know, you're going to have these obstacles, but those are the things that fuel you moving. It's not boring anymore. You got something to charge forward on.
Well, even like the boring stuff, like your training,
right?
The boring stuff, like we preached at Iowa State, like, or dressers as for us. It was like, you got to love to do the boring. Like, you got to learn to love to do the boring, because that's what makes you great.
Right. Well, you talked about preaching. You also brought up the King of the Universe, and I see that you're rocking the crucifix. Has faith played in a role in your life?
Yeah.
And belief. I mean, we're talking about belief and, accomplishing goals. You got to have some sort of faith and belief in something.
It was always been in my life, but it wasn't like a huge part until I'd say like the end of my junior year of high school. Then I got really into it and started going to FCA. I'd go Sundays. Like right now I'm in FCA. We take a big group of wrestlers to church on Sunday. We're reading, have Bible studies. So like right now we're reading the book of John.
It's important right now to spread the gospel. You know?
So it's definitely helped. It's also helped with like, just like my mind, like free my mind a little bit too. Yeah. So. Yeah. I was going to tell you about Proverbs 3:5, but it sounds like you already nailed that one. So,
that's awesome. And you said, FCA.
Yeah.
What's FCA?
Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Okay. So at Iowa State, we meet every Sunday. So Sunday,
and that's with all athletes, not just wrestlers, right?
Yeah, it's all athletes. So we'll have a group every Sunday. And then like this Wednesday at Gilbert High School, it's a thing called Fields of Faith. So we have like all these area schools are coming in, and it's pretty much just a big message, like big prayer message. And then each sport is breaking off, and we have one person from each sport giving their story to that schools or to those athletes of that sport. So like there's one person from every sport, like even cheer and band are going, like everything's going and talking. So like one of my buddies is talking for wrestling this year. So it's a really cool event, and
That's
it's for
awesome.
high school athletes, and just it'll be cool. There's going to be a lot of people. It's on the football field, so.
That's awesome. That's a great event. What would you say would be one of your testaments of faith if you were to be up there to speak for the FCA?
I would something I'd tell them mostly is like, I took it from a message that we had a couple Sundays ago at Cornerstone. It was you put your trust in the Lord like all the time. Like if you're only putting into athletics, like you don't have a Lord, you have a rabbit's foot. Which that quote like hit me, because like that's what a lot of people like. It's not like it's an awful thing, but I feel like it's what a lot of people have. Yeah. Like people all have their cross necklace, or they'll say it on the sports field, but then they don't like back it up.
Right.
But you got to trust in the Lord throughout every aspect of your life, and He's over you. And I mean, like they said, like if it's only in your sport, and if it's only in times of stress, like if you're freaking out over a test and that's the only time you talk to Him, like you don't have a Lord, you have a rabbit's foot.
Right.
And that quote hit me. So, and it stuck with me. So
yeah, thanks for sharing that with me. I'll have to get a little rabbit's foot in here. The little deterrent. Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So let's go with the word. Well, when I was in the military, we had this thing called be, no, do, right? We called it be, no, do. So I'm kind of related to that, is like, into the how-tos of like how well, how do you train well? How do you be well? How do you know well?
Yeah. For train well, I'd say I've developed a schedule. So I'm waking up at the same time. I'm waking up at around the same time, 6 to 6:30, depending on if my workout's at 6 or 7. I'm going from my workout to my nutrition, and then after nutrition, I either have a meeting or I have class. Yeah. And then I get my other meal, and then I go to another class, and then I go take a nap to space those out, and then I go to practice, and then I hit nutrition again after practice, and then I go do my schoolwork after nutrition that night, and I go home and I go to bed at the same time around 10:45 at night. Like, I used to be awful at my time I'd go to sleep. I'd fluctuate from some days 10:30, some days 1 o'clock at night, like 1 o'clock in the morning, like, and I would wake up tired. And now when I'm waking up, I'm like energized, I'm ready for a workout. And I think it helps with my mindset too, because then I'm ready for the workout. Like, I'm coming in, I'm like, I got to kill this workout. Like, so.
Yeah. Man, you got your thing together, man. Do you have, are you in a relationship?
I'm not.
Good.
So
Yeah.
focusing on wrestling and living my life in the present. So
Yeah. How much do you get to see and hang with your parents?
they come up they've came up a couple weekends. This past weekend, actually, I ended up going home for Thursday night through Sunday night. So that was really good. Like, especially with my busy summer, like, I was with them, but we were just traveling and it was tournament after tournament, like, or event after event. And we were just always busy. But this weekend was big. I mean, I got home Thursday night and I stayed through Sunday, and we went to the football game our high school football game with each other, hung out all Saturday, went to church Sunday with each other, got dinner, like, got lunch. Like, it was good to just sit down and, like, enjoy each other's company, and not without having to, like, run like chickens with our heads cut off, like, everywhere across the country. So. And
how close are how close is your family?
We're really close, I'd say. Especially me and my brother. Me and my brother used to not be real close. And
what's the age split between you guys?
15 months.
15 months, yeah.
Nothing. So he'll end up at Iowa State next year. But once high school hit, like, me and him used to just hate each other. We'd just come home and be like, call each other a name, and then you just start fighting, and then you just get sent to our rooms. Like, but now once high school hit and we started traveling with each other a lot more, and we were on the same team, like, we just grew, and now we're best friends. And then they're my parents, but they're also my best friends. Like, we're all close with each other.
That's
we all
beautiful.
enjoy time. So
you get to scrap with your brother still?
Yeah, a little bit. He's a little banged up right now, but so I didn't get to wrestle with him this weekend, but he don't want to wrestle with me.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody wants to wrestle with you. I was telling you on the way down here, you're more than welcome to come to the gym tonight and practice if you want to stay in town. So which reminds me of the next question here that I got for you is, have you ever tried any other combat sports or any other sports? Did you play any other sports?
I played baseball and football growing up throughout my whole life, but I enjoyed those a lot. But the summertime for baseball and the summertime for football ended up kind of like interfering with, because I knew at the end I wanted to wrestle in college. I've known that. Like, football and baseball I loved, but I knew in college, like, from the time I was little, I was like, I'm wrestling D1. Like, I'm going D1, mom and dad. Like,
yeah.
Like, this little dream, like, I'm going D1. So I ended up having to make sacrifice. I made a sacrifice so I could wrestle in the summer at nationals and do all that stuff and keep training. So I ended up leaving baseball when I got into high school, and then I played freshman year football. But other mixed martial arts, I haven't had, like, official, but me and my buddies roll around a little bit doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, what about when you were a kid, did you have a hero? Did you have anybody that you looked up to as far as, like, professional athletes go?
I'd say, like, I don't really know. But I was more like, enjoyed watching everyone wrestle. And I looked up more to my coaches than, like, a professional, because I knew I could talk to them and, like, they would help me out. Like, it was just different for me. Because I enjoyed watching, like, not even just the Americans wrestle, like the Russians or, like, that stuff, like foreigners wrestle. And it was Like, I just enjoyed, and I'd like watch them and watch your technique in slow-mo, but I really like looked up to my coaches, and I still do. Like, my coaches from when I was kindergarten all the way through big game. Like, I look up to all of them still to this day.
Yeah. And I'm sure that there'll be a bunch of young kids looking up to you when you're in that position as well. What do you, I kind of asked you this, what do you see beyond wrestling? But where do you see the end state of your athletic career being at? What do you want to accomplish athletically before you hang up the shoes?
I want to go to the Worlds. I want to go win Worlds. I mean, this year is going to be year 2 where I can go Greco Freestyle at trials. So, I mean, U20s is the first step to going towards that senior level goal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like those little stepping stones, like juniors is first.
Yeah.
So that's where my mind's at right now.
And who's your guys' first, what's your first competition this year?
It's around November 5th. It's against, I forgot who it's against. It's in Ohio at David Carr's high school.
Oh,
so
really?
That's our first duel. And then we come back here and wrestle Davidson at home. So we'll see Marcus Coleman again and David's brother. So
yeah.
those are our first 2.
Awesome. Anything you're really looking forward to?
The Cyhawk duel.
The
I'd say
Cyhawk
that's that one's gonna be electric this year.
Yeah. Plus the documentary comes out this year.
Yeah.
I believe it's called The Duel.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen the prelims for it.
You've seen the preview for it? You've got
the prelim. I saw a prelim on Twitter for it.
Nice.
A while back.
Yeah, I'll be going to view that on the 18th in Hawkeyes. I got some tickets to go see it, so I'm excited as a documentary filmmaker to kind of see what that's all about. We were discussing with my last guest, Dwight Henson, that kind of that duel, that importance of the Cyhawk duel, him and Jeff McGinnis. So who's going to be your Hawk, that you're gonna have a duel with.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, with everything going on, I don't know their lineup. I mean, we don't even know our lineup yet. I mean, we got wrestle-offs, all our weights. We got some competitive weights this year. Like, wrestle-offs are gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
Like, the finals of wrestle-offs is like we have it down on lead floor on the turf, and we put bleachers around it, and it's like it's gonna be its own little duel itself. Like, people need to line up for it because it's gonna be. I mean, just our wrestle-offs are gonna be electric this year.
Do you know when that's gonna be?
October 26th, that Thursday, I'm pretty sure.
Man, how do you get into that? Are they gonna sell tickets?
And you just walk in. I mean, hey, if I'm one guy, I'm setting up a table right here. I'll be like $5 entry fee.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, let's go. I'll pay for it. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see that one. So, let's get into some fun conversation here. So, what's your favorite movie?
Ooh. I've been a big fan of like Wolf of Wall Street and like Step Brothers. I can recite the whole Step Brothers movie. It's bad. Like, I can recite every line. Like, you give me a scene, you say like if you put out a short clip of a scene, I'll tell you like what part of the movie it's in. Like, it's bad. So like,
I think
like
my favorite parts is when he talks about the Randy Jackson, the weapon, right? The katana, the samurai weapon.
Yeah. I love when they're in the room and they just like they start naming things like, what's one actress? She said John Stamos, and they go, what? And they just go crazy.
We just became best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go do karate in the garage.
Do you got anybody like that you like are like kind of like synchronized with? You guys kind of answer your own things, or?
I wouldn't say. I don't even really. I can't even think of one right now.
Right on. It's I always like think about musicians, right? They just kind of get into that flow state and they start like just answering each other musically.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. I feel like I get that with grappling as well. You touch somebody's body, you grab them, and you get responses, and you just start making reads, and just all of a sudden you're just connected with the other person, which is super important for grappling connection. So, What about books? What's your favorite book?
Ooh. I like I have a mindset book that I have at home that's good, but I'd say my Tim Grover has some good books.
Okay.
Just like pretty much any of his.
Yeah.
Like I'm more of like, it's hard for me to get into like the fantasy books and stuff, like the nonfiction, but like you give me like a book like that, like a motivational book, like
I got you.
Those are the type of Relentless is probably my top one. And then there's also a series, it's like Chop Wood, Carry Water is one of them. Pound the Stone. And then there's another one. I can't remember the name of it right now. But those ones, that's like a 3-book series. And I mean, one of them's like this big, but just like the lessons that those books have.
Yeah. I love how people, not just like motivational speakers, but people that are authors and write books, find these patterns and how to like climb ladders of success. And then they're, obviously they take it and share that growth with other people. So
yeah. I mean, that there's like one of them, Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's only like, I'd say like 100 pages maybe. But I've read that book plenty of times, and there's a new message. Like I find one, they're like a bunch of little lessons. It's like a story about this guy and a kid he's training. Mm-hmm. And there's like little life stories like throughout the whole book, and you like pick up on a new one every time.
Ah, nice. What's your favorite book in the Bible? There's so many.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell. I'm really into John right now. Like I'm liking John because I haven't like deep dove into a Bible, like actually truly like read, and I'm taking notes. Like I just started because I just ended up, like we started a couple weeks ago, but I haven't really like deep dove until this year. Like with Carter Schmidt was like, Carter Schmidt and Cole Carlucci were like, you want to join our Bible study? And I was like, yeah, like I want to get into that stuff. So
yeah, well, that's going to be awesome, man. Diving deep is the goods, right? And you're going to get you're going to get so much value out of, especially in the book of John. You're going to get like, even reading one parable, it'll just like, it'll just keep going. It just like, it feels like it's endless and amount of learning lessons and life lessons that go along with those things. So what about music? What song do you got on your playlist?
Music's interesting for me because I listen to everything. Like I listen to EDM, rap, country, like some sad stuff. Like it just depends on the time of day and my mood. Like if I'm going to work out or working out, like rap. Like if I want to go on a long run, sometimes country is what I'll listen to. Like it just depends on the mood. Summer day, windows down, country. Like not rap.
Yeah.
EDM, like if I'm wrestling or like in big game, we'd play EDM, like Kygo stuff or like Marshmallow, like that type, just to like have your body like fluid when you're wrestling.
Right.
So it just kind of depends on my mood, but I'm everything. Like,
what about food? What's your favorite food to get?
Ooh.
And we'll say out of like weight cutting time. And
I'm big into Mexican food.
Really?
Yeah. Sit down, have some chips and salsa, waiting for it.
I know, right? It's like I can get so full off the chips and salsa.
That's what I got lunch yesterday was Mexican food. I got a quesadilla. I usually get like, I'll look at their menu, I'll look at what's good, and I'll just get like the biggest thing when I'm not cutting weight, and I'll be like, "This is good."
Let me get the super burrito.
Yeah, 2 sides of rice, like everything.
Oh, I love rice, man. I love rice.
With some queso, some guac.
Yeah, do you do queso? Do you do queso, guac, or salsa when you're eating chips?
I do all of it.
You just like,
whatever's on the table.
Everybody's mad at you. You're like, hey, who put the salsa dip with the guacamole, right? Yeah.
You're like, I don't know, man.
It's just like hanging off your lip. Yep, pass the buck. Yeah, I love Mexican food too. I'm a Mexican dude, so obviously I gotta like my own food.
That's definitely.
Yeah, you had a couple shorts this year, man. I was like, get it.
Yeah, I was like, get on flow.
Had that little cartwheel.
Yeah, that was fun. It was cool because usually I zone out the crowd. Like I can't hear anything when I wrestle.
So tell me about chain wrestling and how you got kind of involved with that.
Yeah, so they came out with like whatever the state came out with, like high school athletes can have NIL now, blah blah, and like Chain Wrestle reached out to me and they're like, well, do you want to collab and be our first like high school like brand athlete? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So me and my dad ended up making our logo, and they offered to make a logo for us, but we were like wanted this one because it has the meaning behind it. But they ended up making a store for me, and it's still up right now, and I'm hoping to like make it bigger in the future. But it was cool to have, and like just seeing like everyone getting it like is cool. Like I walked around the Iowa. It was Iowa, whatever the last home game was, Okie State.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State, Okie State. And I walked around and I saw like 4 people wearing my shirt and I didn't even know them. Like, it was cool.
And they might not even know it's you either.
They didn't see me. I was like behind them. I was walking on the sidewalk and they were like walking towards the stadium, and I like saw their shirts at a glance and I saw it. It was cool. But the meaning behind it was like just vibing. Like Zach Covington's one of our big game coaches, and he were always looking at each other going like hang loose, like just vibe, and like don't put that extra stress on yourself, and just do your thing, go out there, do your thing, be yourself, like wrestling, non-wrestling, like just go out there, hang loose, like or just go out there and ball.
Yeah.
And it just like it stuck with me, and it's helped my mentality. And like once I got this logo created, or once I got this deal offered to partner with Chain Wrestle, they were like, well, do you have a logo? And like I told my dad, I was like, well, I have my initials obviously, like in the middle, and we always here with each other, so that was a logo obviously. And then we always send each other vibing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to add that, so my logo's not just random or like just goofy, just
it has meaning and value.
It has meaning behind it for my life, which people can have it like other ways too. I know hang loose is used for a bunch of things, but there's meaning behind mine, and it's cool to have. So
100%. Everything in our world, like we live in this marketing world, right? I'm a graphic designer, so there's so much importance that goes into logos, even into like visualization. You're talking about mindset, right? When you're trying to help people create mindset, it's often good to create logo, right? Because logo brings you reference and fires you to this feeling of like hanging loose, right?
Yeah.
And like you have that meaning and value to it. So
yeah.
I'm gonna have to hook up some gear and start rocking some of it. So I appreciate that. So this is kind of a funny one here. If there was to be a book written about you, well, someday there might be talking about something here in the future. What would the title be?
Probably go along with like something like vibing, honestly. Like just be like my life's just vibing through life. Like, I mean, one chapter at a time, obviously, but it'd probably be something along the lines of that. Just because, yeah, like just like logo, like what we were just talking about. Like I mean, that's how I've started to live my life, is just vibe and hang loose. Like, don't add that extra stress on yourself, because that's when other things start to build up. Or like even like stressing about one thing and then you get injured or something like that. Like it just all affects each other. So.
Yeah, sure does. Vibing. I dig it. Everybody get the book. It's coming out. It's going to be on the Amazon bestseller.
There's got to be a lot of chapters left.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of chapters to fill.
True that.
So
history in the making.
Might not be coming out yet. Or if it comes out, it's going to have like the book, but then it's going to have a bunch of blank pages after it.
Right. That
aren't filled yet.
What would you say do you have any hidden hobbies or talents?
I've took a break from it since I moved to Ames a little bit, but I was big. Me and my dad were big into fishing. So like right next to my house, I love northern fishing, and there's a little the Wapsipennikin's like 15 minutes from me. So we'd pull out these giant northerns, like 38-inch northern, 40-inch northerns. Like, they're massive. And I started taking my buddies out, and I'd get them these giant northern, and they were like, one of my buddies, he's like 6'3", 6'4", and he pulled this northern out, and there's a picture of it, and the thing looks massive with him. And it makes
That's why I don't post pictures of my fish, man.
It makes him look small. And I'm like, dude, you're 6'4". Like, this fish is 40 inches. Like, that's crazy. But I'd say that. I longboard quite a bit on trails, or I did back home. I gotta find more trails around Ames, but longboarding's fun just to get outside and explore.
Yeah, somebody told me to go longboarding with you. I can't remember who I was talking to about getting you on the show. They're like, he longboards.
Probably
he
Randy or Tony or
yeah,
something.
Tony. I think it was Tony.
Yeah.
So I got a couple longboards too. So yeah, we'll have to get that done sometime.
Yeah.
I'll come up and visit you up in Ames, and we'll go kick it. We'll go hang loose.
Yeah, I could longboard around Ada Hayden probably. I know that spot that I could longboard around that little lake. So
Who got you into fishing?
my dad and grandpas got me into fishing quite a bit.
Yeah.
So like we'd go out to Palo with one of my grandpas. We'd go out there with him, and then my grandpa was like the ranger at the Boy Scout camp, which is where I go to northern fish.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Wapsipennikin River, there's a little inlet in the Boy Scout camp, and they all just sit in there. And he ended up taking me there, and then my dad has just went with everywhere too.
Yeah.
So he's also got me in.
Excellent. And let's say you were out fishing and deep sea fishing, and then your boat got astray and it drifted off, and you landed on an island. If you got on the island, what item would you, if you were to be stuck on the island, what item would you want to have?
Is it just me on that?
It's just
or
you.
Is there animals?
No, it's just
There's
you.
animals or
well,
no?
Of course there's animals.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Right? I'd probably take like a machete or something, to be honest with you. Like, or like an axe. I'd probably do an axe because I can defend myself. I can cut down trees, make a shelter and stuff.
Yeah, you definitely need a cutting tool of some sort, knife,
yeah.
axe, machete.
Protect myself too.
You can be the machete. You got a nickname?
Nah.
You could be the machete, man.
Machete,
You could be the machete.
But speaking of deep sea fishing, you ever went deep sea fishing?
I've been deep sea fishing
It's
before.
fun. We went on spring break down in Florida.
Same.
So it was my first time.
It's the first time I caught a shark.
Yeah, we were bottom. We were mostly, the water was kind of like rough, so we didn't troll really, but we were more going down the bottom and catching grouper and some of the other fish, and we shipped back, like, we brought back a bunch.
Anybody get sick?
No, actually no. We kept it. We sealed the bag. Like, I don't even vacuum sealed the bags and like put them in a cooler, and then just my mom. We had an extra suitcase, so my mom used it as her carry-on. This is funny. She used it as her carry-on, and it went through TSA. And we looked at the scanner because I already went through, so I'm seeing the scanner from this guy's view. And it's just this big brick. And the guy pauses it on her bag and starts looking around and like rotating it or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm dying because they definitely think she's like trying to smuggle or something.
Right,
she's like going to get patted down or whatever.
This is looking a little fishy here.
Yeah. We're like, it's fish. Don't worry.
No, it is fish.
He opens it up and he's like, ah.
That's awesome.
But she got stopped by TSA for having a bunch of fish in her bag. We're trying to like separate it out so it doesn't go over the weight. So like she had like a bunch, and then I had like a couple in my bag and cooler. And we just spread it out so it wouldn't get like over the weight of carry on. But it was funny still because she had just this big brick.
Yeah.
But
what about vacation spots? Like you guys vacation a lot?
Not really. I mean, like throughout my whole life, we'd go. I've been all over the country, obviously, but we never really got to go on like a vacation, like too many vacations where it was just vacation. Like it was always for wrestling, or like if we spent a couple days somewhere after wrestling, like we'd do that. But like we went spring break this year to Florida, which was fun. after Fargo 2 years ago, we ended up traveling to Black Hills, and then we went to Fort Collins, and then the Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
So like, we did
I've
like
been
a
all
little
those
road
areas.
trip. We did a road trip, and it was fun. And Colorado Springs is cool. We did that Manitou Incline, and
Yeah, it's a lot of stairs.
yeah, I did it a day after I got a tattoo, my rib tattoo too. So I was like, took my shirt off, and I was going up the Manitou. I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to sweat with this thing, or like the cover came off.
Yeah, it's like the worst spot to be sweating at.
The cover just came off, and it's just seeping down my. I was like, oh well.
Speaking of tattoos, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, in the video, I could only see the one that's on your chest with the cross, right? What's the bottom part of it? Does it say Yeshua?
Nah, sideways, it's God's greater than the highs and lows. So it's like sideways, it'd be a G, and then the greater sign, the highs and lows.
I dig it now. I see it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people ask me because they don't know, because they just look at it straight on. They don't look at it from the side.
Yeah.
So, and then my rib one is, we actually created this one too. Like, we didn't have anyone do it. I got it in the Springs. We created this circle, and then we had a silhouette of me and Logan Luft wrestling. So it's me and him wrestling, and then above it says Luft Tough. So I did that for him because I wanted. He was one of my best friends, and I'm still close with that family today, like Lily, Wendy, and Lenny, and so I'm still close with them. And I got that. I didn't want something like on my arm to like. Where it's just, hey, look at me. Like, I wanted something that just carries with me, like something that I know that's there.
Yeah.
And then I just got this one. I got to get touched up after wrestling season a little bit, but it's my family's names with mom, dad, and brother, and then each band like symbolizes them because I wanted to do something with the band.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I just need to fill that band in a little bit.
Yeah, I was bleeding.
I did tattoos for many years, so
yeah, I was bleeding a lot, so I didn't. He's like, come get it touched up. But by the time it was healed and touched up, we were already wrestling. So I was like, just wait till after season.
Yeah, the tribal blocks are always big fillers, and they cause a lot of blood.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. We'll have to get that taken care of. I was trying to get Luft in here to come on here on the show. So
Lily?
Yeah, hopefully Lily's listening, continues to listen to the show, and makes some time to come on in as a guest. But you were speaking about her brother, correct?
Yep, Logan.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about that? Talk about you and Logan's connection and relationship?
Yeah, so we met through Elite Takedown Club. Like, I didn't have anyone up there, and then the first day, like, Jamie Gray was like, yeah, go with this kid. So, like, that's how, like, we took off, and then ended up getting close with them, and started traveling the country with them, national tournaments, regional tournaments, all that stuff. Hanging out with them, fishing a little bit with them, and then we just had that bond. So we had that bond inside wrestling and outside wrestling, and then he ended up passing away on an ATV accident, and I ended up leaving Elite Takedown, so I like wasn't there around then, but that was definitely like hard time. But
yeah, man,
after that was like I've helped so like there's a like Logan Luff scholarship, so like for Wrestling for Life for people who might not have the money.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up raising money through that a couple different ways, like pop sockets, t-shirts, and all that. And I ended up, one of the recipients from Colorado, I ended up being on one of his duel teams with him for Team USA.
Really?
Yeah, so I ended
Small world,
right?
Yeah,
so I ended up being on him because he got his leg crushed by a bull. He's a bull rider out in Colorado. So I ended up being on a team with him. It was cool.
Yeah, you guys got that connection and experience. That's like that full circle thing.
Yeah, so like now, my family and his family, like and Lily, like we'll go up, we'll hang out with each other, get dinner. Like I'll see Lily around. So
yeah, it's important to keep people's names in our existence, right? The guy, this over here, I lost some of the stuff over here. People that I've lost in my life, whether it be in combat or after the fact. So that's awesome. That's awesome that you commemorated that and dedicated a piece of your skin to that family and to his name. So send my best wishes over to them and continued success for their family.
Yeah. I wore his name in the Fargo finals as well. I had one of my shoes I customized, I blacked out the Nike logo, and then I had Luff Tough written on the bottom of my Inflix, and I wore it for the freestyle final.
Yeah.
And the night before, Lily and Wendy gave me this pair of socks. These hot sauce socks, because I used to be big into socks. I used to have a bunch of funky ones.
Yeah.
But I ended up wearing those too, so it was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, what would you say that, and we're talking about humans, what do you admire most about humans?
I'd say the progress that we can make, not even in our minds, and just as a society, the technology that we're creating, and how fast our brains can develop, and how much someone can excel super quick. That's interesting.
Yeah. And what would you think your biggest acceleration in wrestling took place?
I'd say I had 2 little spurts. I'd say around 6th grade it kind of took off, and then I started succeeding a little more in middle school. But then after my freshman year of high school, I feel that was my big advanced acceleration.
Yeah, you went on to win 2 state titles your sophomore and junior year. So
yeah. And I think, like I said earlier in the podcast, part of it I think was my mindset just clicked. One day my mind just clicked. I'm gonna be I always said I was the baddest dude, but then one day it just clicked and I knew it.
Yeah.
There's a difference between thinking and knowing.
Yeah, for sure.
Same thing with or believing and knowing is what we say.
Yeah.
There's a difference between believing that you're the best and knowing you're the best.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you earlier. The be, know, do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, don't believe that you're the best. Know you're the best through your training or your life. So
yeah. And when it's all said and done and wrestling is set aside and you're coaching, you become an old man and you have a family, what would you like to be known for?
I'd like to be known for someone who was inspiring to others, was respectful to others, was a good friend, was someone that their kids or they could look up to. Just a good overall person and someone that people enjoyed being around. So
yeah, man, I'm enjoying being around you, just getting to know you today a little bit. And since we're moving into election season, and you're probably not into politics, I don't know. I'm not into politics, but if you were to be running for president in this country, what would you do? What would be the first thing you'd want to do? Or what would you change?
What would I change? I know it's not possible, but change all the hate. Just people hate each other for no reason.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that so many people just dislike someone just because Johnny said that you're mean, or right. Just the stupidest little things. And you don't have if you're wasting your energy on bad vibes and hating people, that energy could be used so much more if you're putting power and using it for good. If everyone just took the energy they use for hate or rioting or whatever, and they put it to something good or helping someone else, the world would be crazy, way better.
Yeah.
But
100%.
That's not going to be realistically, that's not going to happen. There's always going to be people that
are unhappy, people that are hating.
If you don't got haters, you ain't doing something right.
That's what I've always been told, man.
Yeah.
I try to keep them low, but
yeah,
seasons bring increases.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
I don't got anything in specific, but it was fun being on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and I'd like to thank Wrestle for being a part of this podcast, and Econ Nutrition being a part of it. And I'm super grateful you were able to make your trip down from Ames. And I look forward to watching you in the rest of the season. It's going to be awesome, and looking forward to continue for your name to grow. And I'll be there to help motivate and push anything you need me to do on my end. So thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Tate.